You think you know Bluey's family, but the deeper you look, the stranger the missing cousins, secret grandparents, and ghost-like relatives become. 1. The mystery man in the Healer family photo. In Nana Healer's apartment, hanging right above the couch, there's a family photo that raises more questions than answers. You can spot it in the episodes Charades and Escape, and it looks normal at first glance. Bandit, Chile, Nana, Bob, Stripe, Trixie, Bluey, Bingo, Muffin, and Baby Socks are all there. But standing on the far left is a mysterious figure no one can place. He's got reddish-brown fur with odd blonde tips, a blue body, and a tail with a yellow ring. He looks like he belongs, yet no one ever mentions him. Is he an uncle, a cousin, or someone who shouldn't even be there? The photo feels like a family secret, hanging in plain sight. 2. Grandpa Bob. Grandpa Bob is the biggest question mark in the Healer family. He showed up in Granny's, then vanished for over 100 episodes. When he finally reappeared in The Sign, the story was that he had gone to India to find himself. That sounds peaceful, but it doesn't explain why Nana Chris kept showing up alone all this time. Something feels off. He even looks different. Part of his left ear is missing now, but back in the 80s, it was whole. No one ever explains what happened. Did he lose it in some wild adventure or something darker? Maybe he wasn't just traveling. Maybe he was hiding. Grandpa Bob returned, but the silence around him is louder than words. 3. Nana Chris. Nana Chris is the complete opposite of Grandpa Bob. While he disappears for entire seasons, she seems to pop up in every big moment. Christmas mornings, birthdays, babysitting adventures, she is always there, smiling and ready to join in. But doesn't that feel a little too convenient? It is almost like she has stepped into both roles, covering for Bob's absence without ever explaining why. She is the grandmother who knows how to floss dance, but maybe she is also hiding something bigger. Why is she so cheerful while her husband vanishes into thin air? Either she is the glue holding the Healers together, or she is quietly keeping a secret that no one wants to say out loud. 4. Mort. Mort is the grandpa who seems to have it all figured out. He lives by the water, goes fishing, and acts like nothing in the world can bother him. But the more you look, the stranger it gets. He is very close to Maynard, a neighbor who somehow shows up at Frisky's wedding, seated right beside the bride's family. Why would a casual fishing buddy get a spot like that unless there is more to the story? Mort has the calm smile of a man who knows things he never says. Maybe he is just a friendly old dog with a boat, or maybe his past links the Healer family to secrets they do not want to explain. 5. Chile's mother. Chile's mother is one of the most mysterious figures in the whole family. Most of the time, she only exists in photographs, a shadow in the past tense whenever Chile talks about her. But if you look closely, she does appear once in the episode Dragon. It is only for a moment, but it confirms she was real, present, and part of their lives before disappearing completely. In one old image, she rides a horse with total confidence, which feels like more than just a hobby. Could that detail be a clue about how her story ended? Illness, an accident, or something never spoken about? The show leaves it unsaid, and that silence makes her absence impossible to ignore. 6. Brandy and her baby. Brandy's story is one of the most surprising turns in Bluey. For years, she carried the quiet pain of not being able to have children, something that even strained her bond with Chile. Then, in The Sign, she finally appears with a baby, and the moment feels huge. But here is the strange part. We never see the father. No name, no face, not even a mention. Did Brandy keep her partner private, or is there no partner at all? Maybe she turned to medical help, or maybe the father is a character we already know but have not connected yet. Either way, Brandy went from heartbreak to motherhood, but her baby's origin is left as a mystery. 7. Uncle Rad. Rad is the uncle who feels like he came out of nowhere. He suddenly appears in the series as the fun, easygoing brother of Bandit and Stripe, but for years there was no sign of him at all. Where had he been? The show never says. He acts like the type who drifts through life, chasing jobs, travel, or maybe just avoiding responsibility. Then, almost out of the blue, he comes back into the picture and falls for Frisky, tying himself to the Healer family again. It is almost too perfect. Did Rad finally decide to grow up, or did Frisky rescue him from a wandering life? His smile hides a long silence we still cannot explain. 8. Stripe and Trixie. Stripe and Trixie are always shown as the slightly overwhelmed parents forever running after Muffin and Socks. Their family life is loud, messy, and hilarious, but that is pretty much all we know. We never learn how Stripe and Trixie met, what their lives were like before kids, or even why their parenting styles feel so different from Bandit and Chile's. Stripe comes across as the more anxious brother, while Trixie often looks like she is one step away from losing patience completely. It makes you wonder if their chaotic household is hiding stories we never get told. Were they always like this? Or did Muffin and Socks simply turn them into survival mode parents? 9. Muffin and Socks. Muffin and Socks are the cousins who always steal the scene, but for very different reasons. Muffin is loud, dramatic, and convinced the world belongs to her. She storms through birthday parties, refuses to share, and will argue until everyone gives up. It is funny, but it also feels a little too real, like the show is reminding us that kids are not always easy. Then there is Socks, the youngest of the bunch. When she first appeared, she only spoke in barks, while the other pups used words. For a while, people wondered if something was wrong, but as time went on, she started talking more clearly. It is a clever way of showing that children grow at their own pace. Together, Muffin and Socks bring chaos and heart to every episode. Their wild energy hides small truths about childhood that are as real as they are entertaining. 10. The Terrier Dad Theory. There is a quick moment in the quiet game that many people almost miss. Cornelius, Winton's dad, is shown giving money to a scruffy-looking terrier sitting on the street. It seems like an ordinary act of kindness. But what if it is more than that? The terrier looks rough, worn down, and possibly homeless, yet his coloring and design are strikingly close to the three terrier brothers who often play with Bluey and Bingo. The idea is simple but chilling. This dog could actually be their father. If true, it would mean the terrier's mom is raising the kids alone, while their dad struggles to survive outside. The twist gets darker when you remember Cornelius later starts dating the terrier's mom. That would tie the healers to a family drama far heavier than most people expect. It is a quiet detail that feels almost too tragic for a kids' show. 11. Rusty. Rusty has slowly turned into one of the most important kids outside of the healer house. Episodes like Army and Cricket put him right at the center, giving him the kind of focus usually saved for Bluey herself. That shift has sparked a wild idea. Maybe Rusty is not just a friend, but actually related. His coloring is different, but the healer family already shows us that siblings can look nothing alike. Some people point out his closeness to Bluey and the way he always seems to slide into stories naturally, like family would. Could Rusty be a hidden cousin, a child of an unseen healer sibling? It would explain why the show keeps building him up as if he belongs right at the heart of Bluey's world. If that theory ever proved true, then Bluey's best mate would also be her first cousin. 12th. Frisky's mystery bridesmaid. At Rad and Frisky's wedding, something strange stands out. Beside Chile, there is another bridesmaid we have never met. She is dressed for the big day, smiling like she belongs, yet the show never tells us her name or how she is connected. If Frisky wanted her closest people at her side, then who is this woman? She could be a sister that the story has never introduced, or maybe she married into the family quietly in the background. Another possibility is that she is simply a lifelong friend who means more to Frisky than we realize. Whatever the truth is, the camera lingers just long enough to make her presence impossible to ignore. It feels less like a wedding extra and more like a missing puzzle piece. 13. Frisky's brother. In the wedding photos from the sign, there is a man standing near the front who almost slips by unnoticed. He is introduced without words, no spotlight, just quietly placed beside the rest of Frisky's family. The detail that makes him stand out is how close he is to the mystery bridesmaid, almost as if they arrived together. Could that mean he is her husband, making her Frisky's sister-in-law? Or is he simply a brother who avoids attention and never got his own scene? The show offers no explanation, leaving him as a silent figure with family ties we cannot map. He feels important, yet invisible, like a relative everyone knows but no one talks about. 14. Frisky's parents. Frisky's parents make a blink and you'll miss it appearance during the wedding. Seated proudly on the bride's side, they look like classic Cocker Spaniels, smiling politely as if everything is perfectly normal, yet their presence is strangely hollow. No lines, no introductions, just two figures filling chairs at one of the biggest events in the show. Who are they outside of this moment? Did they raise Frisky near the same lake where Chile spent her childhood? Or is their connection to the healers much older than it seems? The silence around them feels deliberate. They could hold answers about why Frisky and Chile share such a deep bond. Instead, they sit in the background like ghosts with family ties we cannot trace. 15th. Bosow. Bosow never shows up on screen, but his shadow stretches across Frisky's story. She mentions him in passing, and the way she does it says enough. Their relationship ended badly, and the bitterness still lingers. When Frisky and Rad tell Bluey and Bingo a fairy tale, she makes a pointed comment about princes moving on to other princesses. That small jab feels less like pretend play and more like a wound from her past. The hint is clear. Bosow left her for someone else, maybe even before their relationship was truly over. Cheating, betrayal, whatever it was, it scarred her deeply. Rad might have brought her back into love, but Bosow remains the ghost of what went wrong first. 16. Bluey's possible great-grandparents. Bluey's great-grandparents are never seen, yet little hints suggest their presence lingers in the background. The family's ties to the land, their love of animals, and even that old photo of Chile's mother on horseback point to traditions stretching back further than the show lets on. Were they farmers who lived outside the city, raising dogs and horses long before Bandit's generation moved into suburban life? Or maybe they were travelers who passed down that restless streak seen in Rad and Grandpa Bob. Without names or faces, they exist only in speculation, but their choices clearly shaped the healers we know. The silence around them almost makes them feel bigger, like legends whose stories were buried but not erased. 17th. Unseen siblings of Chile. Chile's family is shown as small and close, but there may be more to it than we realize. We know about her sister Brandy, who struggled for years before finally having a baby, and we know about her father, Mort. Yet beyond that, there is a strange emptiness. Could there be another sibling hidden from view? A brother who left early? Or a sister who chose a different path? Chile never speaks of anyone else, but her bond with Frisky hints that she grew up surrounded by more connections than the show admits. If there is another sibling, they could carry the missing piece of the family's history, the part that explains why Chile feels both grounded and quietly haunted. 18th. Potential step relatives. The healer family tree already feels busy, but imagine what happens if step relatives start to appear. Divorce and new relationships are everywhere in the background of Bluey. Winton's dad, Cornelius, ends up with the terrier's mom, and that single pairing shows how quickly families can blend. If it happens to the neighbors, what stops it from reaching the healers themselves? Rad and Frisky might someday bring in children of their own. And if things ever changed between Bandit and Chile, step-parents or step-siblings could become part of Bluey's life. It sounds messy, but also real. Families do not stay simple forever. One new marriage, one sudden split, and suddenly, Bluey could find herself with cousins, uncles, or even grandparents she never expected. 19. The future cousins. The healer family already feels full of energy, but it is only going to get bigger. Brandy's long-awaited baby has finally arrived, giving Bluey and Bingo a brand new cousin on their mother's side. That alone changes the family tree in a huge way, but the possibilities do not end there. Rad and Frisky's marriage opens the door to even more cousins. Imagine if those two decide to have kids. Suddenly, the healer backyard would be overflowing with little voices, all demanding turns on the trampoline. Muffin and Socks would no longer be the only cousins running wild, and the balance of the family would shift again. Each new arrival means new personalities, new chaos, and new stories waiting to unfold. For Bluey and Bingo, the next generation of cousins could turn every gathering into a carnival, full of laughter, arguments, and the kind of unforgettable moments only family can create. 20. Maynard. Maynard is introduced as Mort's neighbor, the kind of easygoing old dog you would expect to see sitting by a lake with a fishing pole. On the surface, he is nothing more than a friend of the family, but his place in the story suggests something deeper. At Rad and Frisky's wedding, Maynard is not tucked in the background like a casual guest. He is seated right beside the bride's family, as if he belongs there. That detail changes everything. Why would a neighbor get such a spot of honor unless he is more than just Mort's fishing buddy? Maybe he helped raise Chile, spending so much time with Mort that the kids saw him like an uncle. Or maybe his ties go back even further, connecting the healers and Frisky's family in a way no one explains. Maynard feels less like a side character and more like hidden bloodline. That wraps up the list of Bluey relatives with secrets too strange to ignore. But if the show finally revealed Bluey's great-grandparents, should they be kind, wise elders, or dark and flawed characters who explain all the family drama? Drop your take below and stay tuned, because the best mysteries are the ones still waiting to be told.